Ever since the dawn of time in 2001, many have wondered how a lineup of steroid users would fare against the best non-steroid users. So, I did my best to find out. And unfortunately, I couldn't get players to sign up for a game and have them morph into their peak form, so I did the next best thing and used MLB The Show for simulation. One side will have a lineup full of clean legends, and the other will feature a lineup of players who have admitted to steroid use or have serious accusations against them. So, let's see how this 7-game series turned out.
Totally sports-esque. Major League.
I picked 2 random teams to change the rosters, and it was the Yankees and the White Sox. We'll put the steroiders on the Yankees and the non-steroiders on the White Sox. We'll call the Yankees the Roiders and the White Sox the non-Roiders. For the Roiders, we have the known available users with Mark McGwire at first base, Sammy Sosa in center, Jason Giambi in left, Gary Sheffield at second, and the only active player, Fernando Tatis Jr. at shortstop. The rest of this team is players whose steroid use has been implied, but not actually proven. And I'm doing this since the non-Roiders is a team of 99 overall players. Because of this, Ivan Rodriguez is catching. He has never tested positive, and he's one that other players have accused of taking steroids. David Justice was on the Mitchell report, though he denies taking any. Sports Illustrated reported that Troy Glaus ordered and received anabolic steroids, and the final one, who like Ivan Rodriguez is controversial, is David Ortiz. There are reports that he tested positive in 2003, though Ortiz has said that this was the result of a positive sample in a confidential survey, and was the result of an over-the-counter supplement, and Ortiz never tested positive for banned substances. Obviously, it's not fair to link these players in with known and proven steroid users, but considering this is just a simulation and not real, and it balances things out, we're going to do it anyway.
We're gonna do it anyway.
The main problem now is the pitching. With all the known steroid users in the MLB, there hasn't been many great pitchers linked to HGH. The most notable is Roger Clemens, and he's not available. Gerrit Cole is, and will be on the Roiders, but he is a closer. So for more balance, I decided that the Roiders will be able to use nothing but modern/21st century pitchers, while the non-Roiders will get to use 20th century pitchers, all rated 99 overall. The Roiders win the coin flip, so they get home field advantage at Old Yankee Stadium, with games 3, 4, and potentially 5 being played at Old Comiskey Park. So let's see how things turned out. In the first game, we had an incredible pitching matchup, as we'll see in all of these games. It's a matchup of 2 Mets legends in Jacob Degrom going for the Roiders, and the player who had the most Hall of Fame votes until Mariano winning unanimous, and that's Tom Seaver. We can see the non-Roiders lineup full of 99 overall players, and the Roiders lineup with the first 6 in the lineup being 99 overall, with the bottom 3 not too far behind. So let's see what happened in Game 1 from Yankee Stadium. After a scoreless first, the first scoring threat came when Willie Mays lined a double down the right field line. Then, Lou Gehrig would walk, but then Degrom would strike out the strikeout king Reggie Jackson, then strike out Cal Ripken Jr. and Mike Schmidt to get out of the inning unscathed. No runs scored in the third or the top of the fourth, but then to lead off the bottom of the fourth, in a stadium he's familiar with, David Ortiz would hit an opposite field solo home run to give the Roiders a 1-0 lead. But the threat didn't end there. After striking out Pudge, Jason Giambi would walk. Then Troy Glaus would hit a hard ground ball to first that Lou Gehrig dove for and flipped to second, but the throw was off the line, and the return throw from Cal Ripken Jr. was late, putting 2 runners on with 1 out. Seaver would get a huge strikeout of David Justice to bring up Fernando Tatis Jr. And on a hitter's count of 3-1, Tatis would turn on a slider, and it would clear the 318-foot fence and left. A huge home run from the Roiders from their only active hitter. Tom Seaver would last until the 5th, where he was taken out after his 116th pitch for Cy Young. And if you didn't know, the Cy Young Award is named after him. He pitched great in relief, but the problem was that the non-Roiders could not score off Jacob Degrom. He pitched into the 8th, went on the 4th pitch of the inning, and his 119th of the day, Cal Ripken Jr. laced a double in the gap off him to end his day. And into the game for the Roiders came an actual Roider in Gerrit Cole. He would come in and strike out Mike Schmidt, Johnny Bench, and Ricky Henderson to keep the Roiders scoreless. After a scoreless bottom half, Joe Morgan led off the inning with a solo home run to put the non-Roiders on the board. And after a walk issued to Willie Mays with 1 out, Craig Kimbrell came into the game. He struck out Lou Gehrig, but walked Reggie Jackson and Cal Ripken Jr. So just like Phillies fans, Craig Kimbrell gave Roiders fans a stroke. And in response, the Roiders went to the bullpen to bring in Edwin Diaz to face Philly legend Mike Schmidt with the bases loaded. And 4 pitches later, he got Mike Schmidt swinging to give the Roiders a 4-1 win and the 1-0 series lead. A huge win, and the Game 1 winner stats back this up. And so we moved to Game 2. And on the mound are two Astros legends in Gerrit Cole for the Reuters and Nolan Ryan for the non-Reuters. The Reuters lineup stays the same, while the non-Reuters has some new additions. Frank Thomas is playing first, Babe Ruth is the DH, King Griffey Jr. comes in at center field, Mike Piazza, who could be on the Reuters team, is in at catcher, and Chipper Jones is at third. Right away, Sammy Sosa and Gary Sheffield got on with infield hits, but Mark McGwire would ground into a double play. However, David Ortiz came up clutch as usual, with a line drive single to right that put the Reuters up 1-0. After a scoreless second, the bottom of the third started with a walk to Fernando Tatis Jr. And even in video games, walking the 9-hitter is not a good thing. He did strike out Sammy Sosa, but walked Sheffield and McGwire to load the bases. And it is good to see a sense of realism in this game, as Nolan Ryan does have the most walks allowed in a career at 2,795, almost 1,000 more than Steve Carlton. And Ryan gave up these walks at the worst time, as this allowed David Ortiz to come up with the bases loaded. And on a 3-1 pitch, Ortiz turned on a fastball and hit it 401 feet for a grand slam that put the Reuters up 5-0, bringing their win expectancy all the way up to 91%. But the non-Reuters weren't going down easy. In the top of the fourth, Gerrit Cole walked 2, then with a full count and 2 outs, the runners took off, and Mike Piazza hit a line drive to center. Sammy Sosa dove and couldn't get it, allowing 2 runs to score. The Reuters would get one of those runs back next inning with a David Justice solo home run, and Gerrit Cole and Nolan Ryan couldn't make it past the 5th, with Tyler Glasnow and Lefty Grove coming in and pitching great. Lefty Grove gave up no runs, while the non-Reuters got one back on a Mike Piazza single off Eric Gagne in the 8th that scored Babe Ruth. Edwin Diaz finished the 8th, and in the 9th, 2 runners got on, but neither got to second, thanks in part to a huge strike him out, throw him out, as the Reuters took Game 2 6-3 to take a commanding 2-0 lead as things went to Comiskey. In Game 3, with their backs against the wall, the non-Reuters turned to one of the best you can in this situation with Bob Gibson, and he delivered, striking out 16 in 7 innings, meaning he has a single-game strikeout record in the World Series and the Reuters Series. We should also mention that he threw 140 pitches. The main problem here, though, is that the offense gave him no run support. Through 7, they stranded 7, thanks in part to 6 shutout innings by Spencer Strider, with 10 strikeouts. Bob Gibson had to come out after the 7th, and like Game 2, Lefty Grove came in. He got the first 2 out, and on a 2-2 count, he threw a hanging changeup to Gary Sheffield, who took advantage and hit a 433-foot solo shot. There's no way of knowing, but video game Bob Gibson may have left and done some GTA-style driving after seeing this. The Reuters had a man on second in the 8th, and this may surprise you, but they didn't score him. It's unbelievable seeing these Hall of Fame hitters unable to perform in the clutch, but maybe this is proof that no matter how good you are, once you put on a White Sox uniform, your clutch ability disappears. Edwin Diaz came on again for the 9th, and it was an easy 1-2-3, giving the Reuters a 1-0 win and a 3-0 series lead. And unfortunately for the non-Reuters, David Ortiz was on the other side. So with the non-Reuters down 3-0, I decided to put 3 of the best active players on the team, which I wasn't planning on doing. So Mike Trout, Bryce Harper, and Aaron Judge are joining the team as a heap of desperation. And in Game 4, to make things interesting and help with the struggling ratings, the pitching matchup is one for the ages, with Shohei Ohtani pitching for the Reuters and Babe Ruth pitching for the non-Reuters. And with the lefty matchup, Nelson Cruz makes a start for the Reuters. So let's see how it turned out. For Babe Ruth, it started out great, with 7 of his first 8 outs being recorded via strikeout. But when the lineup flipped over and Ruth was looking to end the 3rd, Sammy Sosa would destroy a 92-mile-per-hour fastball 457 feet to give the Reuters a 1-0 lead in this potential elimination game. Ruth would actually load the bases and didn't give up any more runs, and this momentum carried into the bottom half. With 1 out, Mike Trout was again facing his now former teammate. And though Shohei got the best of him in the World Baseball Classic, Trout won when it really mattered, by taking a slider 422 feet to right to tie the game, exactly what Trout envisioned happening at the end of the World Baseball Classic. Ruth and Ohtani made it through 5, giving up 1 run, with the Reuters continuing to not hit in the clutch. Ruth would be replaced by the underrated Brett Saberhagen, and after recording an out, he tried to go inside on Nelson Cruz. And it didn't work, as the new addition to the lineup would hit a 436-foot shot to left to give the Reuters their 1-run lead back. Saberhagen settled down after the home run to keep the lead at just 1, as Brian Abreu was good in relief. But then came the 8th, and in came Craig Kimbrell. He got an out, but made sure to make things interesting by walking Mike Trout. And things got even more interesting when Trout stole 2nd. Then on a full count, Bryce Harper hit a shot down the first base line, and it got through, tying the game at 2. They couldn't add any more despite having 2 on, and Saberhagen went 1-2-3 in the ninth. After getting an out, the bottom two of the lineup with Chipper Jones and Ripken Jr. would record singles, bringing their win expectancy up to 75%. But Joe Morgan struck out, leaving things up to Mike Trout, and he also struck out, taking things to extra innings. And don't worry, there's no runner on second to start. And surprisingly, Brett Saberhagen continued to remain on the mound for the non-Reuters. He recorded an out, but walked Mark McGwire, bringing up David Ortiz. With nowhere to put him, they pitched to him, and on a 2-1 count, Ortiz hit a 95-mile-per-hour fastball to left. Judge went back, but he ran out of room as it cleared the left field wall, giving them a 2-run lead and a 92% chance to win. Cy Young would end the inning, and Edwin Diaz came on looking to win the series for the Reuters. He got Bryce Harper to ground out, then on a borderline pitch, he struck out Aaron Judge. Willie Mays, however, refused to give up and hit a double in the gap, meaning it was all up to Mickey Mantle, who was now the game-tying run. He went down 1-2 after a swing and a miss, and then he swung and missed again, and it was over. The Reuters officially won the series, and they did so with a sweep. It wasn't dominating, as just like the 2005 World Series, every game was close, but only lasted 4 games. The Reuters simply won with timely hitting and great pitching by all the non-steroid users. I was not expecting this to be a sweep, and definitely not a sweep for the Reuters, considering the non-Reuters had nothing but 99 overall players, and that's part of the reason I put the top active pitchers on their team. But while this was simply a simulation and maybe the pitching was a little too good for the Reuters, it at least says a lot about the relation between steroid use and baseball. The main defense of steroid users, especially in their bids for the Hall of Fame, is that they had to hit the ball. Obviously a broad statement, but hitting a baseball is the hardest thing to do in sports, and steroids won't make you magically do that. But it can help you hit it out of Little League parks like Yankee Stadium. And this series shows what winning baseball comes down to, and that's getting hits at the right time, and having 99 overall pitchers dominate opposing lineups with effective location and cheat codes. And if there's one thing to take away from this, it's that the Reuters disprove the notion that cheaters never win.